Hello everyone, and welcome to the 5th episode of my GoW 3 gameplay series. What you're watching today is a King of the Hill match on Raven Down, and I'm alongside Drakov once again. I go pretty hard in this game and do a lot of work in and around the hills, accumulating plenty of points. Drakov puts in a good performance too, and you'll be able to see where we end up on the scoreboard at the end. I'll show the whole second round in full, and skip a few of the more boring sections in the first round as the game lasted over 20 minutes. However, having said that, I do have a lot to say today, so you won't be missing out on much, because I'm going to be talking about quick matches, ranked matches and competitive matches. I'll give you my opinions on them all and explain how I think things could have been improved, in the hopes that these things are indeed improved for Gears Judgment. So it's been one of the main debates about Gears 3, quick or ranked. If you throw competitive into the mix, you essentially get 3 different ways to play the same thing. I'll start with quick matches. So in quick matches you can join games that have already started, quit whenever you want without penalty, and play match after match without having to search each time. Bots fill the places of those who leave, so it's always 5v5, and if you quit before the end of a match in which you're about to lose, you don't get the loss on your record. This is something that the more image conscious might do to keep their win-loss ratios high, although it is easy to spot who does this, so it means nothing really. Now I can see the appeal to quick matches, and I fully understand why Epic added them to the game. To the casual user, quick matches are pretty much perfect. You just get into a game straight away and play some Gears. The speed of the rotation between games is a benefit too, since nobody wants to be waiting for ages just to play a match, in addition to randomising the teams after every game. However, there are numerous flaws with quick match, the primary one of which I believe is that it dumbs down the user's experience. When you join a quick match after it's already started and leave before it finishes, you're not getting a full experience of what the game is really like. You don't learn as quickly because you don't see what's happening at the beginning of a match, in terms of which power weapons are important and things like that. In addition, randomising teams whilst keeping the same players for every match is great when you have 10 single players, but as soon as you start to get larger parties involved, it doesn't even become a fight anymore. And then as soon as people start to lose to a party of 4 or 5, they're just going to quit straight away, and anyone left is going to get beaten even worse. Then lobbies start to die and it becomes a bot fest, essentially destroying the potential for multiple quick games. In these situations, the user might as well play ranked, since he just leaves at the end of the game anyway. If Epic truly wanted to make a more casual playlist, I think they should have limited quick to only allow parties of 2 or single players to play. What enjoyment teams get out of running in a party of 5 and bot bashing I'll never know, but they do exist and they ruin the experience. As an add-on to this, the bots are absolutely infuriating. I'd rather they had empty spaces, to be honest. They're totally useless, at times invincible, and just break up the flow of the gameplay. And because it's quick match, you get the wonderful opportunity to see bots all the time. But let's leave quick match for a minute and move on to ranked. Now with ranked, you all sit in a lobby for a few minutes and wait for the game to match you up with other players who are searching for a ranked match. Then you pick the map you all want to play on, choose your character and weapon skins, and start the match from scratch with 2 full teams and 0 bots. If you leave halfway through, you penalise 2,000 points, and this is where you're more likely to find better competition. However, the problem with ranked is that quick matches exist. The ranked populations are absolutely dire. Whilst the whole idea of starting a match from scratch with 2 full teams and choosing the match to play on may sound pretty mainstream and a similar experience to other multiplayer games, the fact is that people get put off by the word ranked. Why would any casual user who just wanted to play a few quick games ever choose ranked when he can choose quick, where he can leave whenever he wants and get into a game straight away? He never would, and that kills the whole experience as it forces people into quick matches, which as I've mentioned inherently dumbs down the game. Ranked isn't perfect either of course, since it takes far too long to find and start games, but I would say that a lot of those problems have arisen thanks to quick matches existing. Making ranked more party friendly if you like, by limiting the number of parties that are able to play in quick matches may have helped the populations, but it is the very fact that there's even a choice between what are essentially easy and hard modes that caused the whole problem in the first place. In my opinion, that choice shouldn't even have been there, and there should have just been one way to play, which was an amalgamation of the current quick and ranked matches, but I'll come on to that in a moment. And the reason I'll come on to that in a moment is because I want to quickly touch on competitive gears. Now there isn't even a playlist for this, it's a completely community driven thing, where teams meet up in private matches with set rules and play out some games in set game types. Execution and King of the Hill are the two main competitive game types, although TDM is sometimes played as well. There are no hammer bursts, retros or sword-offs allowed, so everyone has a Lance and Gnasher loadout, and the maps are chosen in relation to how well they work with each game type, rather than just as a random choice. Now Competitive Gears is pretty much the pure version of Gears of War multiplayer. I've played a reasonable amount of Competitive Gears and I never ever rage. The reason for that is that everything is as fair as it can possibly be. There are no maps included that give one team an advantage over another, no other loadouts allowed other than Lance and Gnasher, so everyone starts on the same playing field, and when you've been beaten, you feel like you were beaten by the better team on the day. It's as simple as that. It probably does lack a certain amount of variety that would keep the casual user entertained, but incorporating some competitive elements into regular multiplayer I don't think would be a bad thing at all, and I'll explain why in a short while. So I've gone over the three different ways of playing Gears of War multiplayer: quick, ranked and competitive. Each have their own pros and cons. However, one of the worst things about all of this is the fact that there are three different ways of playing at all. The only thing that the current setup does is divide the population, and that's the worst crime Epic have committed. Gears of War isn't Call of Duty. There aren't millions of players constantly filling every playlist multiple times over. You simply can't have 15 playlists all with different game types, and then in each of those have a choice between ranked and quick, whilst at the same time alienating the competitive players by having completely different rules. This is the reason the population of Gears 3 multiplayer dropped so dramatically. Now I'm from the UK, so I'm going to highlight my point by focusing on the current situation in the European region of Gears. This may be slowly becoming true in America as well, and may be the same elsewhere. However, I can only speak from my own experience. So within a short time of the game coming out, you simply couldn't get a ranked match in anything but the most popular game types, such as TDM and King of the Hill. The reason for this? Everyone was playing quick match. So as time goes on, the total playlist populations fall, and ranked games end up with 0 players. Even with a party of 5, you're not going to go searching for a game, as you'll not find another 5 people to play against. So all these large parties head into quick match, where they play one game, stomp all over their opponents, and everyone ends up leaving. Half of the players in that game get sick of this happening all the time and decide to stop playing entirely, and that continues the fall in the population of the game in total. Then multiple DLC packs are brought out, which increases the number of playlists in an already dwindling population, and further segregates those who have DLC from those who don't. And it's not just a case of cutting the population in two, because if you have one piece of DLC, you can't play with those who have both, or with those who have none. The population essentially gets split into 4 paths, and now even some quick matches find themselves without players. In Europe, the low number of total players meant that ranked died out on every single game type except TDM within 6 months of the game's release. You simply can't get a ranked game in anything other than TDM anymore. And the high number of playlists, together with the DLC segregation, means that the population is even more stretched and quick matches start to become bot fests consistently. I used to love playing Alpha King of the Hill, but in the end you just couldn't get a game even in quick match, so it forces people to play game types they maybe don't want to play. When they end up getting frustrated, they stop playing, and that lowers the population even further. And that brings me nicely to competitive players. Now those who play competitively get frustrated with playing in public matches because of the inconsistencies, such as the overpowered retro and the hammerburst. Thus they simply don't bother with it except for warm-ups or things like that. That is then a huge number of potential Gears players who have been alienated simply because the rules are not as fair as they could be. That means the population is even less than it could be, and the problem multiplies. In the end, it gets to the point where only a few playlists can be played consistently, and the game just dies out as the variety that Epic tried to introduce with multiple playlists and quick matches disappears entirely. So what can actually be done to improve the situation? Well, nothing now. It's too late for Gears 3 really. With Judgment just around the corner though, it's a chance to get things right from the start, and looking back on past mistakes is the best way to do this. And the best way to look back on past mistakes is to think about what could have been done differently. So firstly, the big one, which I believe would have done a hell of a lot to stop the population of Gears falling off so rapidly. Quick and ranked matches should never have existed. The option shouldn't have even been there. Each game type should have just put every person straight into searching for a, what we would now call, ranked match, where the quite standard choosing of the maps and starting a game with full teams would apply. Ideally, this would also have happened a little quicker than it would now, and when the game is over, everyone would stay in the same lobby. If anyone leaves the game, should then just try to find extra people to fill those spots. This is bringing the speed of Quick into the more structured ranked setup. Matchmaking would obviously have to be improved too, with lower ranked people staying with lower ranks. Although the benefit of having people in a lobby before the game starts is that someone could leave if they thought they were going to be outclassed, and that means the experience wouldn't get ruined for anyone else by leaving the game halfway through. Not having bots would be something else I'd suggest. If someone leaves a game of TDM and chooses to take the penalties associated with that, which incidentally would stay, then the game becomes 5v4 rather than having a bot which can be killed multiple times over and make the game ridiculously one-sided. Having less playlists would be another thing I'd go for. It's better to have 80 people playing across 4 game types with full teams in each than to have them spread out across 11 or 12 where there aren't enough people to fill the games. And one final thing would be to incorporate some competitive rules into the game to get rid of various inconsistencies, make the game a much more fair and level playing field for everyone, and maybe entice some of the actual competitive players to play public a little bit more. Even something so simple as everyone having the same loadout would have helped, and it allows the more casual player to watch competitive Gears and not have questions about why nobody is using the retro. It makes the whole game a lot more relatable. So those are my opinions on quick matches, ranked matches and competitive matches. I hope you enjoyed watching the gameplay and listening to what I had to say. However, before I go, I'd like to know what you think of how Epic implemented the playlists in Gears 3. Whether you agree with my thoughts or not, I'd like to know what you think and how you think that part of the game could be improved for Gears Judgment. Leave a comment below and I'll reply with some thoughts based on what you say. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you next time.